Gavrilo Princip was a Serbian nationalist that killed the Austrian Archduke and his wife, created conflict between nations, and sparked the First World War. To certain nations, he was one of the most influential people of the 20th century. Tomislav Nikolic, the former president of Bosnia, stated, "Gavrilo Princip was a hero, a symbol of the idea of freedom, the assassin of tyrants and the carrier of the European idea to liberation from slavery." Serbia was tired of being ruled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Gavrilo thought that killing Archduke was the way to fix it. After the assassination, Serbia thought that they were triumphant and gained freedom for Austria-Hungary until Austria declared war on Serbia, thus starting the tragedy that is known as World War I.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated by a 19-year-old Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia. Serbia and Bosnia were tired of being ruled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so they created a terrorist group known as the Black Hand. Gavrilo fired 2 shots. The first one hit the Archduke. The second hit his wife, Sophie. Bonjourvi Jevtic said, "When Francis Ferdinand and his retinue drove from the station, they were allowed to pass the first 2 conspirators. The motor cars were driving too fast to make an attempt feasible, and the crowd were many Serbians. Throwing a grenade would have killed many innocent people."
Archduke Franz Ferdinand was a very important person in history for Austria-Hungary. He was born December 18, 1863 in Graz, Austria. In 1878, he became part of the military. In 1889, Prince Rudolf died, and Archduke became the second in line for the throne. In 1890, Archduke became colonel in the army. In 1896, his father, Karl Ludwig, died, and he became the heir to the throne. In 1900, he decided to get married to Sophie Chotek von Chotkow. In order to do this, he gave up his children's right to the throne. Archduke quoted, "All the right people say go here, then they get a huge audience. And that audience has no loyalty, and they are quickly out-cooled by someone else." Austria-Hungary was using Bosnia as a toy. Therefore, Bosnia created a terrorist group to free their country. Serbia was also treated badly, and they joined together to create a group of assassins called the Black Hand. Their group hatched a plan to assassinate the Archduke and free their country.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie were invited to visit Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia-Herzegovina. They went to City Hall. While they were going there, Nedelko Kabrinovic threw a hand grenade at them, but it bounced off the car behind the Archduke's. After that, Archduke said, "What is the good of your speeches? I come to Sarajevo on a visit, and I get bombs thrown at me. This is outrageous." When they were on the way back from the event, they made a wrong turn and stopped right in front of Gavrilo Princip.
Right after the assassination, everything changed. People were nuts all over the streets of Sarajevo. People were tackling Princip, running around, and causing pure chaos. Gavrilo said, "I am the son of peasants. I know what is happening in the villages. That is why I wanted to take revenge. I will regret nothing." All the others, not including the people who hated or disliked Archduke, and the others in line for the throne, were unhappy to hear about his death. The Serbians, however, were ecstatic, but not for very long. The Austrians were furious about the assassination, so they declared war on Serbia.
When Austria had declared war on Serbia, Russia joined, then France, and Germany joined. Eventually, it grew to the European nations, the United States, and countries in the Middle East. It was one of the most devastating wars in history, and it all started with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Serbia still considers Gavrilo Princip to be a national hero to this day. On the eve of the Centennial, the Serbian nation unveiled a bronze statue of Princip. Tomislav Nikolic, the former president of Serbia, stated, "Gavrilo Princip was a hero, a symbol of the idea of freedom, the assassin of tyrants and carrier of the European idea of liberation from slavery. Gavrilo Princip, the teenager who sparked a world war and freed his country from the rule of Austria-Hungary, is still remembered more than 100 years later."